And just before we get started, just some general housekeeping for the session. If you could try to stay on mute, at least during the first half while we cover some of the content. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A towards the back end. This will just eliminate some background noise. I did turn on the recording, so if you need to leave early or you want to refer back to the Q&A or any portions of this session, we'll be sending those out after as well. And then, of course, if there's any questions that come up, you can feel free to send anything directly to me, Craig Window, or our HTM service desk team as well. So, John, I see you're on. I don't know if you want to say anything before we kick it off or if we should just go ahead and get started. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started then, and I'll run through the content. Feel free to use the chat functionality or feature if you have any questions, and then like I said, we'll have time for Q&A towards the back end. So we wanted to take this time to introduce you to our HTM service desk, which is what we're branding our new and centralized call center experience for biomed and clinical engineering throughout the entire university hospitals system. The program will kick off next Monday, February 1st. So that's the official go live date. So this session is meant to be an introductory welcome to the service, give you a little bit of background about how it will work, what it means for you, what you can expect from the changes, and then some other highlights of things that we're working on. So just a couple other pieces of information, items of note, if you will. The program is 24/7, 365. So our team is available via phone, email, and web, which we'll get into and cover here in a little while. We do have a dedicated team of agents working on the UH account. So for some of you who aren't as familiar, we have a team that's working and centralized the facilities maintenance and engineering department at UH that works across the system. That same team of agents, which is a combination of remote agents plus folks on site at UH, will be the ones handling this function and are part of that service desk team. We'll be prioritizing work requests and incoming work orders for ORs in diagnostic and cardiac imaging, which we'll take you through in a little while about how we're doing that. We're also introducing some new experiences from a centralized intranet and digital experience as well, which we'll take you through. And then I think just to start out with, I think we want to make sure that you know that our team is very flexible, very nimble. We know that there's some unique intricacies at each of the sites, of which we are taking into consideration as we launch this program. But we know this will evolve, will adapt, and change over time. So we look forward to working with all of you, both as we get started, but on an ongoing basis. So this is by no means meant to be something we put in and keep it the way it is. So we'll adapt with you and for each of your sites. So why are we making this change, right? So I think that's important just for you to understand, why we are doing what we're doing. So I think there's some key themes throughout, hopefully, that you see, but we wanted to call them out. So number one is, giving you time more back. So taking away the burden of going into Minuteman and putting in data entry, giving you time to spend, working on critical assets, being in front of your client versus having to work on some of that data entry. Providing open and seamless communication as well. So giving a centralized 24/7 experience as opposed to a differing site to site. Now users can call in, can email, can visit us digitally to submit new work requests for clinical engineering. Hopefully minimizing interruptions for you, again, keeping you focused on core tasks and allowing you to have another release valve through a call center to be able to support those hallway conversations that you're getting pulled in. Providing a consistent support. So again, moving away from doing it one way at one site, maybe different messaging or a different on-call schedule to bring it up to be a little bit more consistent across the portfolio. And then obviously to streamline that experience, so they can always get in touch with someone 24/7, 365. So at a very high level, right, what is that process that we're going to be working in? Essentially, our team will be taking on Minuteman as the system of record. We'll be working in that frequently as the CMMS. So as things come in, right, and we'll talk about the phone routing for each of the shops. We've put in some IVRs in place, which gives people the option to route for new work orders to us. As we get them, we'll be going into each of the systems and inputting that data. And it's obviously going to be based on, what's the control number, asset, at what location, who's the point of contact, what's the criticality or urgency of that actual work coming in. And then we have process flows, both for, routine and urgent during normal business hours and off hours. And I'll actually dive into that on the next slide, so I won't touch too much on it. But we're thinking ahead about all those different scenarios. And then once we know the work has been accepted and acknowledged by those technicians, that work will officially transfer over to you for troubleshooting, for updating and completion, either by yourself or troubleshooting or a third party as well. And the goal of this, is not only to help you be more efficient, but also so we can capture real-time data, put it into the system in real time and get a better understanding of what that true operational impact is by volume, by seasonality, by time of day, hopefully, which will make this a much better and more efficient operation overall. So what are those different process flows? I mentioned, routine and urgent and emergency. So we know, again, that every site's going to be a little bit different in terms of how they're set up today. And these are meant to be, indicative of what the process is. It's not every step. But as you can see, the first one on the left is routine during normal business hours. So that will either come into our team, and it doesn't mean that we are taking in the all new work orders, right? So if you still have people that are calling your extensions or coming down to the shop or pulling you in the side of the hallway, it doesn't mean that everything has to flow through the call center. What it means is that we will become another option to do that, and hopefully over time, as we gain confidence and people become comfortable with using the call center, they'll use that mechanism more and more. So essentially, at a high level, for routine requests that are coming in during normal business hours, we will take those in and we will assign them out in Minuteman to the lead technician at each of the sites. And it's our goal to confirm that has been accepted and received, and it has been assigned to a technician to begin work on it. So that could be, in some cases, alerting through a shop line, so calling you directly on that extension. Could be through Vocera in the case of, Ahuja, Parma, main campus, or it could be just alerting that lead through their direct dial extension or their cell phone, depending on, their preference, and it's a little bit different site to site. And the goal is to make sure that new incoming work request has been received, the technician's been alerted, and the customer's been updated with 1 hour. That's our kind of goal that we're looking at. And then once that contact is made and we know that there is a follow-up in progress, we're moving that work request in Minuteman to an acknowledged status, basically, that it's in the process of being handled. From there, we'll work with the different sites to either update the requester directly, or depending on the urgency or the nature of it or the relationship with the UH end user, you as the technician can handle that updating as well to the requester. And then you're responsible from there to help to troubleshoot and to add any notes and or complete in Minuteman. So just a high level what that looks like during a routine process. For anything routine that's coming in after hours or weekends, our intention is not to bother you, right? And so we will still assign to the lead tech, but we're not calling on that. So this is something that we can confirm can wait to the next business day and or to the next day that the shop is open. So we'll update the requester about what the next steps there look like and just assign to the lead tech who is responsible for picking it up and then working on it once those shop hours begin again the next day. For anything urgent or emergency, it's going to look very similar to the routine process flow all the way to the left. The biggest difference and caveat being is that there's a 15-minute response there. So, instead of our team, unable to get in touch with the lead tech or anyone else at the site for, an hour, we're going to be making sure that that has been acknowledged and accepted within 15 minutes. So, the callback and or the wait time for, a pager or a voicemail will be a lot quicker. We'll be able to get that. And then the rest of that is, very, very similar as well. We'll move that to an acknowledged status, and then the technicians, the local teams are responsible for troubleshooting and completing. And then we'll work with you to figure out how we want to update the requester, whether it be the call center and us calling them back directly, sending an email, or if it's a customer you work with frequently, you doing that. And then for work stoppage and emergency requests that come in after hours, I think this will be the biggest change right now. We know a lot of those incoming pages are either coming from the operators or coming from the nurse managers or supervisors, during those hours. And it's our goal of our team to really work with the requesters to understand, is this true work stoppage? Does it really, involve us getting in touch with someone that's on call? And so if that answer is yes, we need someone immediately, we'll still assign to the lead tech and Minuteman, and then we have on-call schedules, pagers, cell phone numbers, as well to get in touch with the on-call teams. And we'll be working with each of the sites specifically, to build out what that schedule is like, right? So, for instance, St. John's, maybe we have a month in advance. I think for most of the east side sites, we have built out through the end of May. So we'll be watching that and then asking for those updated on-call schedules just to make sure that in the cases where we're paging individuals that we have the right individual and we're not paging you during your time off or in the middle of the night. And then the other difference here is that the directors will be part of this process. So if we're not getting a response, through our on-call pagers or cell phone numbers, we will be reaching out to the directors there. So they're involved in that process. They know what's going on, especially for those true critical requests that are coming in. And again, the back end of the flows are basically the same thing. We'll help move that through Minuteman and then update the requester as needed, especially if an individual is not on site or, it's the middle of the night. We'll work to get those updates back to the requester. And then just quickly, this process is really meant to be iterative, meaning it doesn't need to stay fixed forever. And I think to the point we made earlier, we really, we'll work with you to make sure that this is the right way to do it. And if we need to make tweaks or changes to the site, we're certainly open to that as long as it makes sense for the operation and we could still, perform at a high level, which we want to do. Some other updates from a telephony perspective, meaning from a phone perspective for the shops. What we've done is we've taken all the local shop lines across the portfolio, and with the exception of central dispatch through the MSC and Elyria, we're going to be putting an IVR message up on all of those local shop phones starting Monday. Probably between Monday and Wednesday, those will all go into place, essentially giving each caller a consistent experience. But you can see the messaging here that you've reached the Department of Clinical Engineering at University Hospitals, and this will obviously vary by the site. In this case, it's Cleveland Medical Center. To submit a new work order, if you require immediate assistance, press 1. So if that user presses 1, that will then transfer them centrally to our service desk team, which again is available 24/7. They still have the option to stay on the line or press 2 to reach the local shop line. So that won't change. If you have third-party vendors or if you have certain customers that know they want to talk to you during the day, they'll still be able to reach you if they don't have your direct extension. So that's an important designation that we wanted to keep in place, that they still can reach you through those shop lines. We're just giving them the option, if it's a new request, to centralize that through us. They're going to be able to get someone immediately on the phone and get that work order started right away, as opposed to maybe leaving a voicemail and then, when you're off the floor, getting back to them. So hopefully this will give them some immediacy. Another thing that we're doing with the individual numbers is that we're actually going to be putting a manual and an optional call forwarding programming in place on your Cisco phones. So beginning next week, for a majority of the technicians, except if you're listed here, because we didn't have your full phone number and extension. I got Tanya's yesterday, so I'll be working with that. But for the rest of them, basically we've set it up and programmed it so there will be a call forwarding option for you. So if you're gone for the weekend or you've taken PTO, or even when your shift ends at night, if you have a tendency to get incoming calls on your personal extensions, as opposed to that going to a voicemail and picking it up the next business day or when you're in next, you can actually forward those calls directly to our call center experience. And that, the way that they're setting it up, again, it will be optional, but it's going to be one button. So you just push one button forward, and then when you're back in, you push one button forward delete. So that will be on the menu bar of your phones. And I'm working with the UH team to get more formal instructions, or at least visuals, so everyone's very comfortable with that. And I'll send those out once I've received them from the UH team. But that will be pretty easy. If you don't see it on your screen, if your name's not up here, that means that you can push the more button, and those options for one button forward or one button forward delete can be there. Again, optional. So this is not something that you need to do, but something that we recommend highly if you're getting a lot of those calls on your individual extensions, or if you're gone for the on PTO or something. Another thing that we're doing is we're centralizing a healthcare technology management page on the UH intranet. So we've had one of our on-site representatives, Maria Supernaut, help us build out a page that is general for the UH system. So anyone looking for biomed, clinical engineering, healthcare technology management, submitting a new work order for CTM, they'll be able to come to this one page. It will give them a little bit more information about the department, what we work on, how do they submit a new request. We have some FAQs here. We have our contact card, with all the local extensions and information, and a little bit more information about how they can get in touch with us, how they can contact us via phone, email, or through the web. So just a new experience here. We hopefully, again, this drives a consistent experience throughout the portfolio. And we had a lot of success with this with the facilities department, and we hope the same here. You can visit that page. I've embedded a link in this, and so I'll send this out post these meetings, and you'll be able to see what that looks like and get a better feel for it. But we've put in keywords for this. So if you search biomed, clinical engineering, HTM, CTM, you should be able to find this page. And then subsequently, we're going to be working on better positioning or location within the UH community site to hopefully drive more traffic here as well. Another thing that we've done is we are in the midst of finalizing the development of our Quality of Life Hub. And for those of you who don't know, the Quality of Life Hub is a digital program or platform that we instituted for facilities management when we launched there about 16 months ago, which allows end users on the UH side to submit new requests or work orders. So this isn't meant to replace the phone or anything like that. This is just meant to give users another experience to be able to submit clinical engineering requests. And so this is a tool that's UH approved. It's single sign-on capable with UH domains, and it's available on the as a mobile app as well. So you can go to the App Store, the Apple Store, Google Play Store if you have an Android, and search it by just putting in Quality of Life Hub and download that. So you can get in now. The clinical engineering component won't be live until Monday, but I did see it this morning in a development environment. So we're very, very close to being able to get there. So you'll have clinical engineering, we'll have a spot right on the menu where you can go. And because it already knows your name and your email, because you've registered here, it's just asking you for your site, location description. We've updated the control number to not be required. So here, if they have it, great, but we're not making it an absolute necessary, and then a brief description of your problem. And so they'll be able to attach an image if they want to and submit that directly to our team and so that will come to us, which is monitored 24/7 to then get into Maximo and start that process all over again. So think of this as a digital phone call, if you will, but allowing the user, putting it in their hands to do it. And we're still saying any urgent requests, we want them to call, right? That's important that, instead of the delay of potentially what could come through a digital function, if they do have something urgent, the best case is to get someone on the phone. So a couple things with this. UH is single sign-on enabled. Just go to login, put in your UH credentials. You'll be sent to a UH page. The one thing that we do know is that you cannot be on a guest Wi-Fi just because of firewall. So if you can use your regular cell data or any UH secure network, just not the guest Wi-Fi. And it's pretty straightforward, I'd like to think, but there's also a step-by-step guide and information as well that can be accessed that we have both on the intranet, but also directly through here, like I'll send as well. So again, this is really a tool for UH end users. So if you have someone that emails you a lot, right, an end user, maybe a good idea to get them here. There could be a good chance that they're already submitting facility requests through here. Now they have the option to also do clinical engineering. So a little bit of innovation, which I think is cool. These are information cards that we've designed and are in the process of printing. So the goal is to be able to get these to each of the sites, and we're going to print a pretty hefty allotment of these. So each site will have a stack of these. And what these can be used for are those hallway conversations, right? As they come up, you can be able to arm your end users with this. It has all the information about how to place a request, email, through that digital Quality of Life Hub, or via phone. And we have all the local shop extensions for clinical engineering here, as well as our toll-free number. So this is just something that we'll be able to provide to you. There'll be a hole right here for the lanyards as well, so they'll be able to put it into their, where their ID badge card goes and things like that, and refer to this time and time again. So these will be, printed on hard plastic with that hole, and we'll get each site allotment probably over the next week or so. And I think more importantly, before we jump into QA, we know that, again, this will be an iterative process, meaning we will adapt it over time. But, we know things change, right? We know people switch sites. We know that we hire new staff. We know that people move around or numbers change, or, instead of using an on-call pager process, you move to cell phones, whatever it is. And we just want to be able to open those lines of communication with you. And so we've created this kind of change management process, which we will send as a follow-up to this, along with this information, that basically tells you, here's the process. Just tell us what's changing, what site you're at. Send it to an email is probably how we prefer to get it, so it's all condensed into one message. But if you do end up calling, you can also do that, and we can make the change that way. This just allows us to be able to make those changes and edits. We ask for 3 to 5 business days for a large amount of changes, but generally, and especially right at the beginning of the program, we'll be getting these done almost on a daily basis, just in case we need to make some changes or structure things a little bit differently for your sites. So we know this is a new process for us, but also for you. We know that each site again is a little bit unique and different. So let's work together to really make this process work well for everyone. We know it can get there. So we're excited about the changes that are coming. We were on an internal call earlier today in training with our teams. They're all excited to take on this, this operation and help you guys be more efficient with what you're doing there as well. So I think it's going to be a really good relationship once we kind of get working. And so please share feedback, good, bad, and different, as we continue to go along, so we can make it a better process for everybody. So that's the program in a nutshell, or at least what's going to be happening over the next week until we go into go live to Monday. So I wanted to kind of open it up the discussion. Again, you can add a question to chat. If any of the directors want to add any commentary, or feel free to come off of mute and ask a question.
Yeah, hey, good afternoon. This is Rick Bazowski at the main campus. I was under the impression we were being issued phones, and it seemed to be now the discussion is we're using our cell phones for this now.
Yeah, Rick, this is John White. As we begin the deployment and get everything going, as we move into the utilization of our new CMMS system, we will be functionalizing phones with the process. So it's just it's a transformational process, but as we initially get kicked off, we're using what we have currently, and then once we work through the bugs and we move into the 2.0 version of Minuteman in the April timeframe, that's when we'll be getting other tools, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
That's a good question, though, Rick. Any other questions about the process or the changeover for Monday?
Is there? Oh, yeah. I had one other question too. Okay. Let's say a large swath of equipment is assigned to one person. Okay, and you're in the middle of something. What's the process when you get another emergency call? Is there a kickback function, or I'm knee deep in something and I'm an hour and a half away from even considering the next work order?
Craig, you want to do that one, or should I?
Yeah, I could start, John, and then just feel free to jump in. So what we're going to be doing, Rick, is that to start, all of those incoming new work orders are going to be assigned to the lead tech, and it's going to be the lead tech, in this case, Barry at main campus, to have us work on plate management. So if you're nowhere being able to get to it, and we know that a lot of the existing equipment in Maximo is tied to individual technicians, that that's not necessarily the correct way to go about it, especially at a big operation like main campus. We'll work with Barry to then say, assign it to Rick, assign it to Elijah, assign it to Tanya, whoever it may be, to then get it to the right individual, to make sure that, based on urgency, we're not putting another thing on your plate that you're never going to be able to get to in the right amount of time.
And I got one last concern. Over the last couple of years, from the facility side, putting in tickets, I've put in tickets with facilities with their system and everything, And more than once, nothing has been done. Then I get an email back saying your work's completed. And nobody can really know a reason why, except for maybe conjecturing that leads over there are closing work orders. This is simple stuff like hanging a marker board or something on concrete or something like that. And it's still on the floor, leaning against the wall, and I'm getting a work order, or an email back saying it's completed. That's not going to happen over here, is it? I mean, I raise a stink every time it happens, and it ends up getting resolved. But I'm like, come on, it's not even intellectually
honest. Rick, I mean, the call center isn't responsible for the work activity.
Oh, okay.
Responsible for generating the work order and getting it assigned. The assignment to the individual is the issue there. So, we're not going to change how we operate in clinical engineering at all.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no difference there. The only thing is the call center. All the calls are going to come into the call center so we can open up a work order and then track it. Okay. And the work order is going to be closed out by the technician. Will not be closed out by the call center.
Yep. Exactly. It's the same case on the facility side too, as well. But they have it set up to generate communication back to the end user if they do close something out. So that's why that trigger happens.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question. So let's say that a radiology call comes in the afternoon and they need service. That is going to go to the lead tech, who's then going to have to go and find out whoever's in radiology? Or is it going straight to radiology?
What do you mean going straight to radiology?
Is it going straight to the person who does the radiology, who services it, or is it going to go to the lead tech and then they have to contact the other person?
Depending on how the site set the team set it up during the program setup phase, I can't. I mean, is this Mike?
Yeah, Carabata.
Oh, hey, Mike. Well,
because I do 5 hospitals, so I mean, it'd be weird for Richmond to all of a sudden the biomed there gets a call and then he has to call me. Might as well just have the department call me on their own. I mean, it just seems like it's extra steps.
No. We're not doing that. Okay. The call will come to the call center. The call center will then dispatch it to you as the primary technician for that area. So that's the reason why we're having it come in to the call center. So and the end user can then identify what device it is. So we can open a work order on that device, and based upon who's responsible for that device in the imaging area is the key person it's going to be dispatched to. But in addition to that, the person at that site, the lead of that site, will also be dispatched as well, because we want to make sure that we're not dropping anything across the enterprise.
That makes sense.
And how it escalates up if you, the technician, didn't acknowledge back to the call center that you received this service event, it's going to escalate up in the next 10, 15 minutes to Salil. It's just going to keep rolling up the ladder until somebody acknowledges that we're taking care of that problem. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Great questions.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions out there? So we'll send through these materials along with the change control process and our information after this, so you'll have it and you can refer to it, and we're always available to answer any questions, or you can go to your directors if anything does come up as well. So this is a process to make the operation more seamless and operate a little bit better. So if there is any changes or something's not working, we'd need to work together to make sure that it gets to a place that works for you. Any other key points, John, I guess from yesterday from the Q&A that may, resonate with this group?
No. I don't think so. I think I sent out an email related to the questions that came out yesterday. Copied everybody in the whole group on that, I thought. But no, I think we're good, Craig.
Okay. Well, great. We have a little bit more time, so I just want to make sure that no one else has any other questions before we end today's session.
Craig, I didn't attend yesterday's session, so this was my first time attending. I just have one comment. Overall, the process looks very good and everything is like structured well. But if there is something which is not structured and it happens, how do we arrange that? So one example would be some of the sites, we have only one tag on the east side. If that person is on PTO, we usually have backup there, so that's not a problem. But if person gets sick at the last moment or something, how do we notify that this person is sick and then we have to route the call to someone else?
Yeah, we know changes happen, and we know that's going to come up. So what we suggest kind of referring to our change control process. I know I talked about 3 to 5 days, but if it's a change that someone's out sick or, God forbid, gets COVID or something that's going to be out for an extended time, we'll be able to update that via the HTM service desk. So that will come through our main email box. We'll make changes on our end and then confirm it. For something that's more immediate, we'll make sure that those changes go into place right away. And granted, we know that we're not the first people, we're not going to be the first people that come into the mind when something like that happens. So, once you get your staffing correct, we'll make sure that we can adapt it on the fly if we need to. So, if we don't hear from Kyle, for instance, because he's at a single site and it does roll up to you, you may say, oh, okay, I forgot to let you know. It should, let's push it to someone else. So those things will happen, but we'll have to just adapt on the fly for those single sites. But as much as possible, feel free to just notify our central team via phone or email.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, though, Salil. Thank you. Great. Anything else before we drop today? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I'll get these recordings and information out to you today, and we look forward to kicking things off on Monday. Hope everyone has a good rest of your day and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.